Sit over here with you guys?
Sure. Can I blame it on you, Andrew?
Sure. Yes, it actually is my fault. I was talking to you, so yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's meeting, May 10th meeting of the MPO. It is 1:02, and we will call this meeting to order. If everyone will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Madam Chair, I believe we have Commissioner Christopher Shojo Hernandez on the phone. We need a motion and a second and a vote on whether to allow his telephonic participation today.
So moved, Graham.
Second, Sanchez.
All right, thank you. Roll call.
Yes, Madam Chair. Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilor Corrin,
Yes.
Councilor Graham,
Yes.
Mayor Barraza,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes. Commissioner Shojo Hernandez may participate telephonically.
Okay. And can you hear us, Commissioner? Shojo Hernandez?
Madam Chair, I do not see him on the
Oh, yeah.
participant list.
We may be having, his call may have dropped. Well, if he comes back, he can vote.
Okay. And we did determine a quorum.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the board have a conflict of interest with today's agenda?
None, Graham.
Okay. No, all right, thank you. And now, and I'm sorry, moving quickly, we've got a long agenda this afternoon, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I will now turn it over for public comment. All right, a familiar face.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Members of the board, it's a little weird to stand on this side of the podium. I only have about 30 minutes worth of time, but I'll cut it back to 2 or 3 based on your comment about being respective. So for those of you who don't remember me, my name is Trent Doolittle. I sat on this board for about 10 years as the District 1 engineer. I was appointed Deputy Secretary for the DOT back in October. I was given that notice the Thursday before they told me to move on Monday, so I haven't had a chance to come before the board and provide you all some comments. Mostly what I wanted to do, Madam Chair, is just tell you all I appreciate everything that you did for me personally and professionally. Honestly, I made some very good friends sitting on this board, made a few enemies as well. But I just wanted to come before you and tell you thank you. The opportunity that I have to move up north is taking some of the great things that I've learned from down here, the partnerships that I've developed with you all. I can tell you right now, the way this board operates is not the way every board operates. I truly believe that you all focus on regional transportation and not necessarily personal agendas or political agendas, and I think that's important for the community. So when they asked me to move up north, some of those things that I'm sharing with them is truly based on what District 1 does, what the Mesilla Valley MPO does, and what the El Paso MPO does. With that, Madam Chair, I just wanted to provide you a quick update on where we are with filling my position. I am currently still the interim Deputy Secretary, although I've been up there since October. There's some delay in the governor's office appointing me permanently. But we did advertise and close the District 1 engineer position. We're double filling that one. Interviews are actually taking place tomorrow. So I would hope that by your next meeting, we will have a permanent appointee to that District 1 position. I appreciate Harold stepping up. I know he sits in a lot of committees, and he was very helpful to me on some of these planning initiatives and things like that. But hopefully next month, he can get back to doing his normal jobs, and we can have a district engineer representing the department on this board. But with that, Madam Chair, again, I just wanted to say thank you. It was a pleasure spending 10 years partnering with you all. My number has not changed, so if there's anything I can do to help you, the mayor was up there during the session, and I saw her a couple times at the Capitol. I'm here still to support the community and the state. So if there's anything I can do to help you out, please feel free to reach out to me. But thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trent. It's good to see you. I'm going to deviate with the permission of the board. I know we usually do not comment or allow questions or anything like that during public comment, but seeing that Trent is here with us and we have this opportunity, Does anyone want to comment or ask any questions of Trent?
Except Harold, Madam Chair.
With the exception of him.
Okay, Madam Chair? No, I
Yes,
just,
Mayor.
Thank Trent most definitely for his 10 years of sitting on the MPO, the knowledge he brought and the guidance that he gave us. And working on I-10 has really helped. And I miss Trent being on the MPO board, but we're very happy to have Harold here in his place. And just the commitment that you have to the southern part of the state in Doñana County is much appreciated, Trent, and you are missed.
Thank you, Mayor. Ditto. Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you. And Trent, it's a pleasure to see you back here. We're glad to have you back home even for the day. But congratulations. Thank you for all your contributions. Thank you for the continued communication, even during the legislative session, really helping at least getting me pointed in the right direction on some of the projects and when we need feedback. So it's going to be great to have an advocate and someone that can help us, at least point us in the right directions, working through the bureaucracy that is the New Mexico State DOT and legislature and so on. There's so many different hats that you're now wearing. So really appreciate your continued support of Doñana County and the Mesilla Valley MPO.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
just want
Mayor.
to thank, and congratulations, Trent, on your new position. Much deserved.
And Madam Chair, just one last comment. I forgot, and I would be remiss if I didn't make this statement. I just want to say thank you to Andrew and his staff. As somebody who's an engineer, I am not a planner. I hate planning, to be completely honest with you. It's something I struggle with. But Andrew and your staff, you've been nothing but helpful and responsive and supportive, and I appreciate our candid conversations. But I forgot to mention that, Madam Chair, but I would be remiss if I didn't thank Andrew and his staff and everything you did for me as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trent. And I echo all the comments and thank you, and it's wonderful to see you. Thank you. All right. May I get a motion to approve the agenda, please, in a second? Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. Pearson. I am so sorry. Thanks for getting my attention.
George Pearson. I guess I'll put my BPAC hat on and say thank you to Trent for all the efforts that he's done. As having watched the State Transportation Commission and the different activities throughout the 6 different state DOT districts, I'm confident that District 1 is the most responsive to citizens and to the needs of the bicycle and pedestrian community. So although we lost Trent, I'm grateful that he's up there and hopefully can bring that guidance to the rest of the state. And speaking of narrow interest desires, the University Multimodal Project, it would be nice if the entire project had 11-foot traffic lanes instead of widening out. And let's look at lowering the speed limit to 30 miles an hour on that roadway because of Zia Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Do we have any other public input? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on for approval of the agenda, please.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Sanchez.
Thank you.
Now calling the roll, Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Corrin,
Yes.
Counselor Graham,
Yes.
Mayor Barraza,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Commissioner Shojo Hernandez, are you on the line? Seems like not. Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
Okay. May I get a motion to approve in a second for the minutes, please, from April 12th?
Madam Chair, Barraza, approval of the minutes of April 12th, 2023.
Second, Graham.
Thank you.
Calling the roll, Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Graham, or excuse me, Counselor Corrin,
Yes.
Counselor Graham,
Yes.
Mayor Barraza,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Commissioner Shojo Hernandez. Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you, Andrew. And moving on to action items, the first one, 7.1, Resolution 23-08, a resolution amending the federal fiscal year 2022-2027 Transportation Improvement Program. Tip.
Madam Chair, I would like to introduce Mr. Dominic Loya.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. So it is that time again. We are going to be discussing the Transportation Improvement Program. We have quite a few, actually, amendments this time. So we will be going through them. We do have 2 amendments, one of which was heard by TAC, and then one that was not. So BPAC did miss out on 2 amendments, and I will point those out as we go through. So the first one we have is LC 00371. This is for federal fiscal year 2023 to federal fiscal year 2024 for NMDOT. It's bridge replacements from mile marker 139 to mile marker 140. It is a bridge replacement project, and this is to actually move the entire project from federal fiscal year 23 to federal fiscal year 24. And then add in highway infrastructure bridge funds to increase them up to $5,887,184 for a project total of $7,700,000. And this project will positively affect performance measures 2, the state of good repair. We have LC 00290 for federal fiscal years 2023 and 2024. This is also an NMDOT-led project. This is the University Avenue Multimodal Project. It's for the multimodal and roadway improvements along University Avenue from NM 28 to NM 478. So this one is going to be quite a long one. So it's adding the Highway Safety Vulnerable Road User Funds. This is a new fund for $4,421,429. It's in federal fiscal year 23. In 23, we'll also be adding the carbon reduction funds for $1,515,654. A different set of carbon reduction funds for small urban areas for $1,484,346. Then we also have the STBG funds for small urban areas for $6,106,962. And then we have the, in federal fiscal year 23, we have the National Highway Funds for $5,004,641. In federal fiscal year 24, we have the FP funds, the flex funds, for $2,578,562. We have the air quality funds, the CQX funds, for $2,907,839. And then we have in construction engineering will be STP funds of $350,000. And then in federal fiscal year 23, utilities funds for $80,000. The project will positively affect both performance measures 1, safety targets, and performance measures 2, state of good repair. Then we have LC 00500 for federal fiscal year 2023. This is Las Cruces Public Schools. This is for safe routes to school. The SRTS funding will be an additional funding of $350,000 for a project total of $537,016. And this will positively affect safety target, performance measure 1 safety targets. We have a new award to LCPS and LC 00510 for federal fiscal year 23. These are SRTS funds and for $317,343. These will also positively affect safety targets, performance measure 1. Then we are now getting into, this is the one that was heard by TAC, but not by BPAC. So we have LC 00390. This is federal fiscal year 23 for Doñana County. This is the Elks Drive multi-use path from Columbia Elementary School to Doñana School Road. It's a multi-use path along Elks Drive. So they're going to be adding SRTS funds to this for $494,635 for a project total of $2,091,712. This will positively affect performance measure 1 safety targets. This is the completely new one that neither TAC nor BPAC heard, which is LC 00271 for federal fiscal years 23 and 24. It's an NMDOT project. It's US 70 bridge replacement. It's the next phase in the US 70 reconstruction. So this will be in federal fiscal year 21, adding IBR E-funds of $6,335,884. We're going to add SI funds for $4,250,000. And then in 24, it'll be SBI SI funds for $2,650,192. And then will be STBGS funds for $4,233,118. And National Highway funds of $2,463,886. And this is to bring the project up to be able to construction estimates. And this will positively affect both safety targets, performance measure 1, and performance measure 2 is the state of good repair. The BPAC recommended approval at their last meeting, as well as the TAC. And MPO staff is requesting that policy board approve this series of TIP amendments. I will now stand for any comments or questions.
Thank you, Mr. Loya. Questions, comments? Oh, seeing none, may I get a motion and a second, please?
So move, Harold Love.
Seconded, Becky Corin.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Counselor Corn?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Mayor Barraza?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Is Commissioner Soldier Hernandez online?
Madam Chair, I am here. I apologize for my tardiness.
Commissioner Soldier Hernandez, your vote?
Yes.
Motion passes, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Loya. Welcome, Commissioner Shaldo Hernandez. The next action item, 7.2, Resolution 23-09, a resolution amending Mobility 2045.
Move to approve, Corin. Second, Graham.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll also be handling this one. Dominic Loya for MPO staff. So we have, we've received a request to amend Mobility 2045, the future thoroughfares map. So there was a request, and it's to remove Zertucci Lane, and we'll bring up the map here in a second as to show where that is. The city of Las Cruces, Doña Ana County have both concurred that as it goes through both the city and the county, that it can be removed as a collector in the future thoroughfare map. Doña Ana County would like to remain a major local. So this is a future thoroughfare map as is right now. This is zooming into where Zertucci Lane is. It's between basically Taylor Road and Engler Kennedy. Along Elks Drive. It goes in between Vista Middle School and where Columbia Elementary School used to be located. So when we look at it, we can see here. So here's Vista Middle School. This is where Columbia used to be. The city basically runs along here, and then this area is in the county, and then back up on Elks Drive is city. So we do have a couple different jurisdictions, including Las Cruces Public Schools, and they've also requested that it be removed as well. So the current conditions out there, so we do have pavement on part of it. We have dirt road on the rest of it. This is the fence line right here to Vista. This is the fence line to where Columbia used to be. So as you can see, so this is actually a 16-foot right-of-way here. And then we have which basically goes to this wall. And then we have a 10-foot electrical easement for El Paso Electric. So it does appear to be larger than it actually is. It is also a private road. As of right now, there are signs out there saying that it is a private road. And of course, not to drop off your children on that side of the schools. So as you can see here, this is looking towards Columbia Elementary. And you can see here where this is the electrical easement. and then this side is looking towards Vista. And in this area, as I said, it's a dirt road. So the 30-day public comment period closed on May 8th. BPAC did recommend the removal of Zertucci Lane as well as the TAC at their last meetings. And staff is requesting that the policy board approve this MTP amendment, and I'll now stand for any questions or comments.
Questions, comments from Mr. Lawyer?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner.
Just curious if, is the intent, I know we're removing it as a thoroughfare, but if, or at least that's what's under review today for approval, but is that associated with the change or with any changes to the planned subdivision that was intending to build this road? Yes, it does have to do with that planned subdivision to the west of the area. And mostly from a transportation planning standpoint, looking at it, the right-of-way, as I said, is only 16 feet in that area. And so that makes it very hard to build a collector or anything else. The school district also, as I said, has requested that it be removed, going in between both of them. And I do believe there are people from the school district here today. If you'd like them to speak on it. I think, thank you, Mr. Loy. I think the question, I guess I'll have to take after this, because it'll be with our community development team, because I'm just trying to understand what the, this would mean for the plat that was previously approved by the Doña Ana County Commission. So that's, I think, where the only question I have, because if that was what was intending, we're making this associated change here with the Mesilla Valley MPO. Does that mean we need to, then the developer needs to go back and make changes to their design? So I don't, like I said, that's why I was curious. I know that's not necessarily in your jurisdiction or purview to answer, but this will be something I'll have to follow up with from the county side. So thank you, Mr. Loya. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's actually what was crossing my mind too with all of this, so, yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Roll call.
Roll call. Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilor Corn.
Yes.
Councilor Graham.
Yes.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Love.
Yes.
Commissioner Soldier Hernandez.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Loya. All right. Next, 7.3, Resolution 23-10, a resolution prioritizing project proposals for the 2023 New Mexico Transportation Project Fund Call for Projects. May I get a motion?
Move to approve, Graham.
Thank you.
Second, Corin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dominic Blair from MPO staff. I will be doing this one as well. So there are three projects, as you know, one from the city of Las Cruces, one from the town of Mesilla, and one from Doña Ana County. They will be presenting again today because of some changes in the scope of two of the projects. The projects are basically being presented in order that they were received. We did find out, as the board requested last time, how much money there's going to be available, and it'll be between $50 and $60 million.
How much? I'm sorry, say that again.
Between $50 and $60 million is what is available statewide.
Statewide.
So up first,
I'm sorry, Mr. Loya, and let me say that again, that because of the length of this meeting, I would like to implement the time limits that we had at the April meeting. So 15 minutes, which includes questions and comments for the presenters.
yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have also the TAC and the BPAC did review these projects. After the three presenters, I will go ahead and read into the record the TAC and the BPAC's recommendation. So first up, we will have the City of Las Cruces and Mr. Tony Trevino.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. members of the board, Tony Trevino, the Assistant Director of Public Works, the City of Las Cruces. So as Mr. Loya mentioned, this was presented at the last board meeting. However, after sending to the BPAC, having a meeting with NMDOT and the TAC, we made some changes to the scope based on the amount of funding that Mr. Loya mentioned. So we went back and revised it based on some recommendations from NMDOT to make it more feasible and hopefully a successful project. So I will just kind of get started. So the initial scope that you saw was Apaseo Road, Alameda, and Idaho. Well, Idaho has been removed entirely from this project. This is just going to focus on Apaseo from University on the south end to Main Street, and then it's going to extend Alameda from Main Street to Amador to get that corridor that's right there. This is going to help. The plan is going to do is kind of planning and design for a complete street. Right now, which I'll get into a little later, is some wide lanes, and if you've driven down there, it's just a sea of black asphalt all over the place. We've done several studies in this area just to kind of improve the economic development and some other items in this corridor here. So we think this is a really good fit to move forward with this grant. Here's the vicinity map. It's just kind of like what I mentioned before. You can see it in the blue there on the south end at the intersection of University. This project's going to start at the north end of the intersection. So this will not include the intersection itself. The City of Las Cruces already has funds set aside for the study of University from South Main to, I believe, Locust or I-25. That is going to get started here this upcoming fiscal year, and that intersection will be included at that point. So this will start at the north end and go all the way to it ties into Alameda and then into Amador, as shown in the vicinity map. So here's the cost. This changed from the first meeting, then also changed from our last TAC meeting. If you can see here, this only includes the planning and design for Apaseo. However, after having some further discussions with the NMDOT, the question was asked by them in the TAC meeting is, are we up for partial funding? If we don't have a full $2.135 million for the entire planning design up to construction for the project, that if we can, what would be the cost if we just go to 30%, our preliminary design, which shown there by that black line, the preliminary roadway design, and that would be about 1.35 million, which is on discussion is kind of right around the ballpark of what they're anticipating what will be funded in a good goal to set. What this also does with timing is if we get this will be done within a year or so, and we will be able to apply for the next round of design with the next TPF grant that's coming up. So we would kind of continually to get this done and meet our timelines, because these grants do have a 30 or 34-month timeline to get them expended. So this allows us to get that expended in a timely manner and then apply for the next round. So existing conditions. So we've gone over this before. This hasn't kind of changed, but along this corridor is some high crash intersections, the lack of well-connected bicycle network. There's one large sidewalk gap on Apaseo, and a lot of the sidewalks don't meet the NACDO guidelines, which the City of Las Cruces is moving to follow, which is a 6-foot minimum. A lot of ours are mainly 4 foot now in existence, and some are actually 3 and have a drastic slope to those, cross slope. There's various City of Las Cruces planning documents, which I'll get into here shortly, that identify this. For Alameda, we got 4 travel lanes. They're all 4 10-foot travel lanes, a 2-foot curb and gutter, and 5-foot sidewalk. These are narrow lanes. I know it does slow down traffic, but as you can see here, there's no accessibility for bicyclists. So with this, we'll have the study, the 5-foot sidewalk, and kind of the increase to that. So we'll have a lot of planning, public input to see what would be the best implementation for this section. Apaseo Road, little wider lanes at 12-foot, 2 lanes in each direction, and the 12-foot middle suicide lane, like to call. That's where everybody jumps into the center to make a left turn. Just a 2-foot curb and gutter and 5-foot sidewalk. So again, here you can see a lot of asphalt, no bicyclists, no additional pedestrian safety. So this is going to be one of the main issues to look up in this corridor. Along with that, maybe some street trees and a lot to be a complete street, to do all the amenities for the complete street ordinance that the city of Las Cruces has. Here's just some photos of the cross-section I just showed, the 2 lanes in each direction for Alameda. And then you can see on the bottom is Apaseo, 2 lanes each direction with that 12-foot center turn lane down the middle. You can see on both sides, the sidewalk on the right side, my right, I guess, on Apaseo, it's like a 3-foot sidewalk right there in front of the storage units there across O'Reilly's, and it's the same thing on the other side. Here's some of the crashes that were in this corridor that were presented in the last meeting, but Apaseo and Bout, that intersection has 5 Class C injuries and 72 unhurt. Please don't ask me what the Class C is. I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm an engineer. So again, there's a main in Apaseo, the 9 Class C injuries and 47 unhurt. University in Apaseo is 1 Class B injury, 13 Class C injuries, and 41 unhurt. So sounds pretty bad. So the planning background. Like mentioned before, the city of Las Cruces has already adopted several plans. Elevate Las Cruces, which is our comprehensive plan, which is kind of the basis of our city's strategic plan. What the main focus here is that encourage bicyclists and pedestrian safety along active roadsides. So this is kind of multimodal. All our corridors, all our streets be multimodal, not just, I know, getting traffic, trucks, vehicles through there, but also the other modes of transportation. And the Apaseo Corridor Community Blueprint. This is where we study the entire neighborhood, the economic, the zoning, and kind of the businesses that are there. So it's not just for roads, but actually the neighborhood as a whole. So there's already a blueprint in place that's been done. Our active transportation plan, as you can see here, which has been adopted by the city, it kind of has the focus areas. Apaseo, this corridor is part of our focus areas for sidewalk gaps, crosswalks, bicyclist, bike lanes, and pedestrian safety. However, based on the initial study, it was so intense here that what the consultant at that time, they didn't go into heavy traffic studies or so forth, so they just what they recommended was further study for this corridor. It wasn't a quick solution. You just put a 2-foot bike lane here, whatever, or any other amenity. They just recommended further studies. So this project, this TPF grant, our planning will kind of further extend our active transportation plan and get the right improvements to this corridor. With that, I'll answer any questions. Less than 15 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you
Councilor
so
Graham?
much, Madam Chair. Thank you so much, Tony, for the presentation. At the intersection of El Paseo and Idaho, my best landmarks, the Albertsons, I know you mentioned a little bit about stormwater coming into monsoon season when we get that area floods pretty heavily. Is this something that can potentially be addressed in this project?
Madam Chair, Councilor Graham, yes. Right now, the Apaseo corridor already has, I believe it's a 72-inch storm drain going through there, but this will study it in addition to any kind of excess runoff that's been there that we'll address. So yes, it'll be a full reconstruction. Utilities, everything from the ground up. So it'll be a full reconstruction.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, of course. Anyone else? Commissioner Shaljo Hernandez, do you have any questions?
Not at this moment, Madam Chair.
Okay.
You look up like I'm in the sky. I love it.
I know.
Also, Commissioner Murillo is on WebEx as well.
Okay.
Madam Chair, this is Andrew Ray. As a procedural note, we're not going to be able to allow Commissioner Murillo to vote because according to the MPO bylaws, we can only have one member of the board participate telephonically at any given time. But her presence here is noted, so we'll go ahead and mark her, I guess, as present. But she won't be able to vote today because the bylaws specify that only one member can vote telephonically.
Thank you, Andrew. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, next up will be Rod McGillivray of the town of Mesilla.
Madam Chair, policy board members, I'm Rod McGillivray, Public Works Director for the town of Mesilla. We did not make any changes to this project, so thank you for the opportunity to let me run through it again. The project is the Calle del Norte Phase 3 project. The purpose of the project is a real simple project, has huge impact on safety and a low-cost project. But the purpose of the project is to extend the Calle del Norte Trail, which you can see in this photograph, the end of the trail, past the Mesilla Lateral. So we'd like to take the north side of the Mesilla Lateral apart, push it back enough to put in a curb, gutter, and asphalt section to extend this trail beyond the, just beyond the Mesilla Lateral. As you can see the map, the Mesilla Lateral in the middle of the photograph. This is Calle del Norte, Avenida de Mesilla at the bottom of the map. As you remember, or probably remember, the trail Phase 1 and Phase 2 have come from the river levee connecting to the city's La Llorona Trail, and it stops just short of the Mesilla Lateral. We have noticed a tremendous increase in use of this trail system since we built it, and as a result, we've noticed a pinch point there at the Mesilla Lateral where people are actually forced out into the highway to get around the lateral. So the project serves as a continuation of both Phase 1 and Phase 2. As I said, modifications to the existing drainage structure to just move it back and put asphalt and curb and gutter through there. Projects, huge safety project for pathway users, shovel ready. A portion of this design is already done. All we have to do is a final design. And we've already had the project clearances because it was included in Phase 2. We just didn't have the funding to build it. So easily done in 12 months, and total project cost $163,262. Cross section of the design, as you can see, it just, if you look at the upper right, you can see the trail just extends. It's very short. It's less than 100 feet. Project estimate, we've evaluated every aspect of the project and are confident we can build it for $163,262, including our contingency. This is a picture of the Mesilla Lateral. Right now we have about 5 feet, maybe a little bit less, between the edge of pavement and the lateral. If people are walking in tandem, they're walking in the highway. This is where this is the most important part. My most important slide. In terms of ranking, we hit 3 out of the 4 ranking categories, and then of course safety, which is a huge other category. But planning, it's identified on both local and regional planning documents. Projects ready, we could begin spending in 3 months and spend down in 12 months. And then it's also a continuation of previously funded TPF project. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Rod. Does anyone on the board have questions or comments for Rod? Commissioners participating telephonically without me looking in the sky?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rod.
And next up, we have Mr. Momo Bed from Doñana County.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members. My name is Mo Mobed. I'm the county engineer for Doñana County. Today, we're going to present Desert Wind Way Corridor. And the purpose of this project is, as you can see, is a route to connect the development occurring on the East Mesa, north of City of Las Cruces to the I-25 Thorpe interchange. The project has been a regional priority since 2015. And also it was the first reviewed by Mesilla Valley MPO. And after a series of state-level traffic studies, Desert Wind is cited as a key connector to both for the county and the city, and also in a One Vision, One Valley 2040 plan. It shows that it's one of the priorities. The corridor will improve the access to and from the preschool and also 3 other schools in the area. And our discussion with the Las Cruces Public School, they constructed a new school on east side, so that's going to be creating more accessibility and safer route. So, and the school is planning to open on 2025. This is general location of it. As I said earlier, on the west side, you will see it connecting to I-25 at Thorpe, and on the east side, connecting to Red Hawk at the city limit. Again, the purpose of to determine the route, that's right now we are asking for funds to do the extensive design and study to determine the route to connect the development of the East Mesa, City of Las Cruces, and also I-25. So that would relieve congestion, improve the emergency response, and also access to Organ Mountain Desert Peak National Monument. This is Elevate Las Cruces comprehensive plan that the City of Las Cruces did with the county and also the cooperation with MPO. They spent a lot of time and efforts. A lot of people were involved. And this was done in 2020, which came out, a lot of policy came out of it and goals, and some of them I put up there. You will see one of them is recreation opportunity to offer a diverse suite of recreational facility and programs to cater to varying community interest, age, and ability. Also transportation, land use connections, development, accessible, efficient transportation system that provides seamless connection to surrounding land use and completion of various development. And on the third one, you see again, coordination with MPO to incorporate the topology of into future regional thoroughfare plans. And also topology with the thoroughfare classification. And in the fourth paragraph, you see applying principles of complete streets, calm streets, and active roadside, creative thoroughfare that are bicycle and pedestrian friendly. And the last one you see, it says inclusion of the safe and connected bicycle pedestrian facilities to the new roadway or roadway reconstruction. And this is the map that came out of the comprehensive plan that MPO did with the City of Las Cruces. And you will see it, the Desert Wind Way corridor shows on the map. I put a black arrow to see what the exact location is. And New Mexico DOT is in the process right now. They had already public input meeting, and they're having several other public input and public involvement meeting to show that they are doing the study to propose the improvement and safety on I-25. And goes from Lowman all the way to the Doñana County exit, but this is only, I'm showing the Thorpe exit, that they're looking at it and they see the improvement to be happening next few years. Again, this is the location, a little close-up of it. at the Doniana interchange on Thorpe, on the west side. So we look at these areas that we're proposing to study to look at as a three-segmented area. We have spent a lot of money with the county and time we have already created alternatives for the west side and east side, but central location has not been determined yet. This is, if you look at it from west side, standing on I-25 looking east, you will see the new segment of the going north of the Ben Archer. We're trying to create safer ingress for the Ben Archer and also going north of the water tanks. This will create a better business access. We have talked to the property owners in that area. They're very supportive of it and requires right-of-way acquisition. On the east side, from the BLM side, you will look at going east toward the city limit. As you can see, it's an undeveloped property and is just south of the Organ Mountain Desert Peak National Monument, which about that segment of it is about 1.7 miles. This is what one of the proposal is. Again, these are just a proposal. We have not, when we go through if the funding is approved, we go through the extensive design, through public involvement, meaning public information meeting, and eventually a public hearing to document everything. We're proposing 12-foot driving lanes with a 3-foot buffer and then 5-foot bike lanes. This is some of the proposals that we looked at inside our department and our consultant. There are several locations on the west side we looked at. This is one of the proposals, but we had public meetings, so we are not going to the Desert Wind. This is another one. There are several, like I said, design alternatives we looked at. Actually, there are 9 of them. And these are some of the properties affected by it. And we trying to come up with roundabouts to slow the traffic down. And this one going north of the Desert Wind, this is completely in the area, undeveloped area. On the east side, we're going with we had 9 alternatives. We came out final 3 alternatives. And the reason there are 3 alternatives because the arroyos we are passing over, we tried to come up with the least or the smallest structure over the arroyo so it'd be least cost to build it. This is a map of showing some of the alternatives we looked at as a whole. On the west side and east side, we see all the alternatives. And then in the center, we are looking at one of the alternatives we're looking at that is going through the undeveloped land. And the total cost of the designing the project, we estimate about $1.2 million. The county has passed, we got authority from commission to match it with $60,000. And what we're asking is $1.1 million. And we have got letter of support from NMDOT. We have letter of support from BLM. We have letter of support from Las Cruces Public Schools. And also we have letter of support for Office of Emergency Management. If anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to.
Okay, questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
Mr. Mobed, just curious, the project that's being submitted, is it for design or for design and construction?
Design, just design.
Just design.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I have a
ma'am.
question. So this project is different than the one that was presented at our last meeting?
No, the project we presented before we found out the funding is really reduced.
That's
So,
what my curiosity was,
also-
because I know it was a $13 million or so,
Yes.
or 30, I can't even
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, it was
It was
30.
in the millions.
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Project, so you have
Madam Mayor,
downsized
yes.
the project, Okay.
We look at the budget, and also we had a public meeting right after the last meeting. We had a public meeting, and we got a lot of input that impacted our decision to look at different route for the central portion of the project.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes,
may
ma'am.
ask another question?
Of course.
And so this project, I know you presented 2 or 3 different scenarios. So at this point, you don't have a set route. You're still trying to determine which is the best route to build the road,
Madam
develop that
Chair,
area?
Madam Mayor, yes, that's what we're trying to do. We get really the actual process is going through a lot of public meetings, but we're trying to rush to hopefully meet the deadline for the funding, and we found out we cannot do that. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's,
And so in reality, right now, we're just asking for design
Yes, ma'am.
on this project. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay. Commissioner Shaljo Hernandez or Murillo, any questions or comments? And I did this.
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. No one else? All right. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, so I do have letters here from Mr. George Pearson, who is the chair of the BPAC, and Ms. Christina Ainsworth, who is the vice chair of the TAC, who chaired the meeting, that their rankings were given, and I will go ahead and read those into the record.
Thank you.
For Mr. George Pearson, Mr. Ray, you asked me to explain the rationale of the BPAC prioritization of the TPF applications. Following is a short summary with details available via the meeting recording and meeting minutes. The final ranking was the will of the committee. First asked for a motion to rank Mesilla number 1, Las Cruces number 2, and Joniana number 3. During the discussion, there was another proposed ranking, including the ranking of the city project last. But in the end, the motion was made and second set of rankings with number 1 for the city of Las Cruces, number 2 for the town of Mesilla, and number 3 from Doñana County. Equity was discussed as part of the ranking, with the city project in particular being noted as a project that would serve economically disadvantaged individuals. The smaller dollar amount request for the town of Mesilla project was noted, with some opinion that the project could be funded even with a lower ranking. There was also mentioned that there is hope that all 3 projects could perhaps receive funding. The final vote was not unanimous, with 1 no vote. Regards, George Pearson, Chair, Mesilla Valley MPO Bicycle and Pedestrian Facilities Committee. This can be found on page 117 of your packet. On page 118 is from Ms. Christina Ainsworth. Good morning, Andrew. As chair at the May 4th TAC meeting, I offer the following project rankings and explanation to the policy board for this year's Transportation Project Fund call for projects. Number 1, Town of Mesilla, Calle del Norte Phase 3. Number 2, Doñana County Desert Windway Extension and Connection. Number 3, City of Las Cruces, Idaho Road and El Paseo Road. Rationale for the rankings, the Town of Mesilla proposal was that it is part of a previously funded phases. The current funding request would complete the project. The project is shovel-ready, and the project will advance pedestrian and bike connectivity. The Doñana County proposal was ranked second because of the greater impact to the community, prior studies, and inclusion in regional planning documents, and it provides needed connectivity and an area of growth. The City of Las Cruces proposal is ranked third primarily because it is still in the early study phase. Christina Ainsworth.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Loya.
Madam Chair, this is Andrew Ray from MPO staff. If I may, before the board enters into discussion, we do have an active motion and second on the main motion right now. I just want to point out parliamentary procedure. If there is an amendment to that motion, we'll need to have the vote on the amendment first and then the vote on the main motion. So if there's an amendment, there'll be 2 votes. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was clear on that before we move forward with the debate. So that concludes my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. All right. I'll open it to the board for any additional comments, discussion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mayor.
I'm just a little, I kind of had a feeling how I was going to vote or present my rating, my priorities. And with Donana County coming in a lot lower than what I had anticipated to begin with, that kind of changed what my thoughts were. But I just want to say, I truly believe the town of Mesilla should be number one, not just because I represent the town of Mesilla, but because it is, it's only $163,000. It's shovel-ready, it's ready to go. It's the last phase of this project that has been funded through previous funding through MPO, and this would definitely complete that project. I'm have mixed feelings on the city of Las Cruces and Doñana County, just for the reasons that they're not shovel-ready. There's still some design having to go into it, some planning having to go into it. So right now, I'm just not sure how I would rank those two, but my number one priority would be the town of Mesilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Corin.
I just wanted to share a similar kind of, I was hoping that y'all would totally disambiguate this and make it really clear for us, or clearer. So I feel quite split the baby, and I tend to lean toward our prior ranking, but I feel like maybe we can get them all. So I don't know, split the baby, but I'm comfortable with all justifications for moving things around in ways that are, so I'm open to hearing that. But I do still sort of agree that the shovel readiness and the small dollar amount kind of push me to think about the Mesilla Valley one first and then the city one second.
Thank you. Councilor Graham?
Yes, thank you. I'm fine sticking with our previous ranking of Mesilla first, city second, county third. But pointing out, I think we kind of, this dog chases its tail a lot because everyone wants shovel-ready projects, yet no one wants to put in the funding to get projects to be shovel-ready. So obviously, design and planning is crucial, and I don't want to discount strong projects simply because they're not shovel-ready. This is how we get them shovel-ready. But all that to say, I'm fine with where we ended up previously. And thank you so much to TAC and BPAC for your input and the time you put into it.
Thank you, Councilor Graham. Very good points. Anyone, commissioners? Mr. Love?
Madam Chair, I'm going to abstain from making comments and ranking, being that as a policy board member, it wouldn't be prudent for me to vote, being that in the end, the Department of Transportation does prioritization and selection is statewide and district-wide. So.
Thank you. I'm not seeing or hearing any more comments. So I guess we're ready for a roll call.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
I think as maybe, I don't know if this is where Mr. Ray was going with it. I think as just for clarity, what are we voting on? Because I know there's a motion to approve, but what are we approving exactly? What ranking? I guess just for clarity, I need to just know what the motion is on the floor, so that way I know what we're voting on.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Sanchez, I don't know what the page number is in the packet, but the ranking that currently has a pending motion is the town of Mesilla first, city of Las Cruces second, and Doñana County third in the prioritization.
Got it. Thank you. I just, like I said, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. And I guess I just wanted to comment too that, you know, Counselor Graham, you're correct. I mean, it's nice to have that shovel ready and to get that project done and over with. And I'm hoping that Department of Transportation sees the significance and the value of the other two projects, that they can perhaps fund some of those as well. Just wanted to put that out there. Okay. Thank you. All right, Mr. Loya?
Yes, Madam Chair. So for clarification, the motion on the floor is to maintain the current ranking, which is on page 73 of your packet. That ranking in Exhibit A is Town of Mesilla first, City of Las Cruces second, Doñana County third. So that is what the vote is on. Starting with Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilor Corn,
Yes.
Councilor Graham,
Yes.
Mayor Barraza,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Abstain.
Commissioner Soljo Hernandez,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Loya. And again, thank you to the BPAC and TAC for all that they did in reviewing these projects as well. So thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can I just make a comment? And I think if the whole state is going to be receiving $50 to $60 million, that I think the three projects that we're submitting are well within, that they could be funded with that $50-60 million that's available. Because I think if you look at it overall, it's less than $4 million, and that's such a small percentage from the $50 and $60 million that are available. So I'm hoping, and I'll keep my fingers crossed, that all the projects get funded. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, I absolutely agree. I think there's some funding available to help and assist with all of these projects that we have submitted. Okay. With that, moving on to discussion items. 8.1, Public Participation Plan Update Presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dominic Loya for MPO staff. I will be presenting this as well. So as most people know, we've been through before. Every 5 years, we have to update the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Right before that, we have to update the Public Participation Plan. So this is basically the first step in that. We will be updating it. So basically what the Public Participation Plan does, it provides a guide for all public participation activities, and it provides processes and tools to facilitate public participation. And as I said, it must be updated before every MTP process. And it governs the comment periods on all MPO work products. So the work products are the ones that the board sees regularly. So it's the MTP, the TIP, which we did today, the UPWP, the Public Participation Plan itself, as well as the annual listing of obligated projects. So we are only proposing minor changes for this public participation update, and that will be, we'll give a more in-depth presentation when it comes up for action. Basically, most of this is just going to be adding some tools for virtual public engagement, as we found out in 2020. When you were chair before, this was, we didn't actually have these in place to be able to hold virtual public engagement, so this is just to kind of correct that. I will now stand for any comments or questions.
All right. Questions or comments for Mr. Loya? Commissioners? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Loya. And 8.2, Mesilla Valley MPO Annual Safety Report.
Ms. Katarina Provingu will be presenting this.
Thank you, Mr. Loya.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and members of the Policy Board. This is I'm Katarina Provengi with the Mesilla Valley MPO. This is the 2023 annual safety report. This is a summary of that report. The full analysis can be found on the report that's on our website, available to everyone. So this data is all based on the year, on 2020 data. In total, we had 3,002 crashes. Of those 3,002 crashes, we had 16 fatalities. Of those crashes, we had, or of the total crashes, we had 36 serious injuries, classified as Class A injuries. And of those, we had 69 crashes involved pedestrians and bicyclists. This was presented last fall, but just a refresher. So these are our numbers since the year 2012 up until 2020, along with the projected years, the projections for 2021, 2022, 2023. These are the number of fatalities throughout the years. Starting in 2016, there's a large fluctuation in the number of fatalities. We go above and below our 5-year moving average. That would be the red line. But on the projections, it is showing an increasing trend, but because of the fluctuation, it's unclear as to whether we'll actually follow those projections or not. These are the fatality rates based on the per 100 million VMT, that's vehicle miles traveled. And again, the numbers were fluctuating, the rate is also fluctuating, same as before, showing an increasing trend. We will see in the future whether it follows the projected trends or not. These are the rate of fatalities, what I just showed you in the previous slide, and this is us compared to the state of New Mexico. So the state of New Mexico holds fairly steady, but does show an increase. With ours, again, the fluctuation, but in our projections, we are forecasted to dip below the state's rate of fatalities. So in the year 2020, these are the locations of those fatalities. We did have 2 incidences that involved 2 fatalities in one spot or in one crash. That's why we have 1 and 2. So we did have some in the middle of the city. Then we also did have some we had 2 along US 70. We also had several in South Valley. And then these are the classification of those fatalities. So if it was involving a fixed object or another vehicle, there were several that involved a pedestrian in the city, and then 1 in South Valley, and that was along I-10. These are the classifications of now the serious injuries. So a fixed object, and then the gray markings were whatever was left blank in the report. And then we also have other vehicles, pedal cyclists, bicyclists, or a pedestrian. And so they're scattered throughout the city. Denser population, more of a chance of those occurring, but then they do occur elsewhere as well. So we had some, this is North Valley up by Radium Springs, along with South Valley, specifically around Vado, and then 1 by Chamberino. So looking at the serious injury numbers, we are showing a decreasing trend since the year 2017. It's been fairly consistent since, so projections are showing that we are still decreasing in the number of serious injuries. Then the rate of serious injuries, same thing, based on 100 million VMT, vehicle miles traveled. The number of serious injuries decreases, the rate does as well. And comparing our rate of serious injuries to the state holds fairly steady. However, with us, we are projected to dip below the state's rate of serious injuries. These are looking at only the fatalities, but by the month. So comparing, or I'm sorry, serious fatalities and serious injuries. Fatalities are on the top, serious injuries are on the bottom. This is by month. And again, remember 2020, that was when we had quarantine, pandemic, everything shutting down around March. the number of serious injuries did start to spike again or come back, increase again, then dip, and then come back up. The fatalities did drop, but then they did spike again in September. So now looking at all of the crashes, our total crashes that occurred in the year 2020, all 3,002 crashes. This is a heat map showing basically trying to find a trend between the day of the week and the time of the day. So as we get into basically daylight during the day, we do see an increase in crashes occurring overall. So which is logical because we have more traffic during the day than we do late at night. And this is also a heat map, basically comparing trying to correlate the day of the week with the month of the year. You can see when everything was shut down. So March and April it decreases, but then we start to see an increase of crashes that occur in the later months of the year. And it's showing an uptrend where it seems that crashes tend to increase later in the week compared to the beginning of the week in some of these cases. So this is looking at all the crashes, all 3,002 crashes with the lighting at the location of the incident of the crash. So the lighting is based on the police officer's opinion the police officer who arrived at the scene. This was based on what he or she noticed, sorry. And then so we have dawn, daylight, dusk, dark lit, dark but with unknown lighting, and then dark, no lighting at all. This correlates with the heat map I just showed you, where during the day there seems to be more crashes that occur, and then most of the crashes occurred in broad daylight. These are factors that were involved, basically, or not involved or just present. Comparing all of these, alcohol did have the highest presence of the reported factors that were given to us in our raw data. Again, this is just whatever was involved, anything that's not a car or different vehicle. But we have, this is just what all the crashes were. Now, I know I said there were 3,002 crashes. This is just what was present in all of those. And these are looking at the non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So bicyclists and pedestrians and pedal cyclists. There's a very, very high fluctuation, way below the average, way above the average, back below the average. So our projections are showing an increase, but again, like I've said before, in the fatalities, it's unclear as to whether this is going to follow our projected trends or not. Looking at the total numbers, we have a total, like I said in the first slide, 69 total pedestrian and pedal cyclists involved crashes. 39 of those were pedestrian involved. 30 of those involved a pedal cyclist. Four of those, there were 4 pedestrian involved fatalities. There were 3 pedestrian involved serious injuries. And there were 3 pedal cyclists involved serious injuries. There were no pedal cyclists involved fatalities. These are the pedestrian pedal cyclists involved crashes mapped out, along with showing the light conditions at the scene of the crash. So we did have several. We had several in the center. We did have some in North Valley. We had some out in East Mesa, and along with South Valley. And like I said before, the full report can be found on our website on the Maps and Resources page under the Mesilla Valley MPO Annual Safety Report on 2023. I'll now stand for any comments or questions.
All right, thank you, Kat. Any questions or comments from the board? Commissioners? All right.
You had me doing it too now. I'm
I
looking
see,
up.
I know. All right. Thank you, Kat.
Thank you. Our next report is the,
Activity centers and
Yes, there it is.
travel demand
I
presentation.
accidentally wrote over it, yes, sorry.
That's
The
okay.
activity centers and travel demand presentation, I will now present Dr. Michael McAdams.
Good afternoon, committee and chair. I'll try to make this as brief as possible. I know that it's been a long day, long afternoon. And let me see if I getting my, I guess switch to the next one. Are they gonna do it for me? Okay, they did. I was like, oh, good. Well, okay, there we go. Or not. The next one, please. Oh, good. Thank
There
you.
we go.
Okay, here we go. Okay. So months ago, y'all want to know about activity centers. And so I did some research and did additional too. So hope you enjoy it. And activity centers are a cluster of industrial, retail, and service and mixed use. And urban areas are concentrations or agglomeration of these centers as they interact with nearby urban areas and also outside the region. Activities are a function of the size of the urban area and other factors. Now, activity centers evolve, they actually can devolve, like El Paseo says the activity center is devolving, not in a good way to a certain degree. Factors influencing their growth and decline include population, technology, the social dynamics of the urban area, and this is called urban morphology. I know this because my dissertation was based on urban morphology. And so I'm very much familiar with that. Now you can have different activity centers in different magnitudes. We'll talk about that later. Commercial, industrial, parks and rec, government and transportation hubs, such as airports, which my dissertation was based on, multimodal freight centers, public transit centers, or intermodal centers, campuses, colleges, public assistance centers like food kitchens or housing for homeless or meals provision too. In fact, if you look transit, that's one of my, in paratransit, one of the key activity centers for transit in Roadrunner too. So that's why I put it. You have major activities, of course, the highest concentration that varies, and these are not, they're continuous, and secondary activities would be lesser concentrated. And also within that, we have the urban core, which is basically the center of our city, the center, and you have the suburban and the exurban. Now, if you look at activity centers and travel demand, the numbers report in the types and magnitude of activity centers. You can see that. We'll talk about that later. And the major producer trips are residential areas. That's where trips come from. And then attractors are commercial, industrial, attracting our service centers. You have different combinations of activity centers, and they can different levels of trip attraction and production. Now, within the type of trip, you have personal, and you have, and the personal and motorized, non-motorized. And so freight, the motorized, we don't have non-motorized freight, but we may have electric freight, but not in the near future. And so you have different types of trips. Now, if you look at one of my specialties, looking at public transit, and this, if you add these all together, you realize that it's a similar amount of people that cannot drive or have to use public transit. Senior citizens that cannot drive are unable to drive, adults that have a disability, low-income households, and then look at youth. We forgot that 10, 20, you have a variety of different youth. You have driver's license, although we always want to have one but teenagers. Now, this page is called the travel diary, and we ought to do this transportation planning class. And basically, you think about all the trips in that we see are the agglomeration of all these. So you take them home and you go to work, or you may go shopping, or then you go to lunch, you may walk to the bank, or do other things at lunch, maybe drive to lunch, and then you go to the pharmacy on your way home, or you may pick up a child at a soccer team, and at night you may go to restaurants or other activities, and then you do it all over again. So most trips are very predictable, and they go, I told my classes, people don't get up in the middle of the night and decide, I'm gonna go somewhere. I'm gonna just wander around, drive my car around. So all trips have purpose, you know. Now, this is taken from a satellite imagery called MPO services. That means services actually reflect light, concrete, well, to certain asphalt, other things that are generally urban areas. And so you can see we have big agglomeration. Our courses are made of all the activity centers in the Las Cruces area. You also have, you can do the El Paso area right down the bottom. And so the activity centers are seen as classified in the Las Cruces area. They all conglomerates, you can't see one from another. They're as clusters. And then, of course, they interact with others. If you look at some of the travel patterns we'll discuss later, there are some distinct travel patterns, too, between the different urban areas. Not surprising that most of the trips that occur, and that is great as well, are within the urban area, right? And then we have a good amount of trip that 8% going back and forth from El Paso. Then you look at other areas, like outside this area, there's a significant amount of traffic from Otero and Luna County into the area. That's why I was thinking about it earlier. That's what the SCRTD, really a good thing to serve people that need to get in the area. And there is kind of a spot, you can see it sort of branching out. And also we look at Albuquerque, Phoenix, Tucson, and other areas too. That makes up of almost 99% of all the trips back and forth between different urban areas. If you look at, and I go this like, and I look at where people are coming from. They're coming from El Paso. They're also coming to us from Albuquerque and Phoenix and LA too. And so, but most of the trips, is like, if you look, it would be like a star. It would be like a big old clump in the middle with like so radiating out. I have my microphone off. Okay. Now, this is taking the GIS and this is really to the travel demand model. And you see clusters, and we know where the clusters are. And they're around Lowman and East Mesa. Those are they're mostly commercial. And you have one big cluster around MSU. Then if you look at, say, off of Telshore, that is mostly like the hospital and all the other related medical. That's a big attractor as well. And then a cluster along Valley and on Main as well. And then further out, with light industrial on the west side. Those are all attractors. And let's show how this manifests this thing too. And of course, you take all those trips together, coming and going, and they manifest themselves into traffic. And if you look at modeling, you just take it up and you look at increasing traffic, et cetera, and you say, what are we going to do with that traffic? And so you can see all these trips. When you see everybody out on the road, you say, I always say, where are they going to? Why are they there? You know? And so it's peaks, like everything low. It's gradually gets to a peak in the morning. And actually, a peak is like 15 minutes. It's really not a rush hour. It's a rush 50 minutes. And then it dips, it gets again in noontime, in the afternoon. Actually, our peak is more like 3 o'clock, and it decreases at 5. So really, if you want to know, and it counts also with crashes as well. No surprise. More traffic, you have the more possibility of crashes. Now, my specialty also is that if you look at how this manifests in for bus stops. And you look at some of the graduated circles. Of course, the two are the biggest are the one at the Movement Center, and that's because of transfers, and also Mesilla Valley Mall, not because of destination, because that's a transfer center too. But other than, we talk about El Paseo, two of the largest stops, or the largest patronized stop, is right at Albertsons and Walgreens. So this is why it's really important about El Paseo too, because those don't have shelters, and that's because of the geometric there. Also, the other place is one of my favorite one to bring out again is at the McDonald's on Lowman, which is right across from Walmart and Big Lots and Sprouts too in that area. That's most people are going not to because they're going to Walmart, so that's close to Walmart. So they have three. But the different destination activities in urban transit has different characteristics. Of course, time difference too, or time variation. Now, activity center represent key points of traffic generation. They are a major role in traffic demand modeling for traffic forecasting. And when you say traffic forecasting, that's an alternative. It doesn't mean that is like the predestined traffic, although some engineers think that way, but actually it's looking for alternatives so you can think of how we can do things in the future. Analyzing factors with the future of travel vehicular, non-motorized is key to transportation planning, and the factors are part of travel demand modeling. Now within this, you have, I'll go real quickly, you have trip generation, which basically production attractions. You have trip distribution, how they're going to get there, which means non-route way. Then you say how people are going to travel. In our area, most people, I would say 99% of the whole travel is motorized, with 1% being non-motorized. And that probably won't change for area very long. And then trip assignment, where are they going to go? What trips, how are they going to manifest them in the future on the different roadways, right? Now, the trips that people take, wherever they go, factors like the number and size of households, automobile ownership, residential commercial activities, and they all generate different levels, and how much travel flows to a specific area within the region. Once a model generates a certain number, they're allocated for the transportation analysis zone, and it needs to be determined which zone each trip goes. Modal choice is where people, how they travel means what mode are you going to take. And anything is a choice. You don't get up in the morning generally say, I'm going to use transit one day or use a bike. It's generally one or the other as a rule, and that's based on numerous factors. And you look at traffic signals, et cetera, and what were the date. And basically, when you look at the origin and destination, you assign them based on shortest path and logic. And people aren't exactly logical. Most people take shortest path. And you select which one, and you look at congestion level, road conditions, transit schedule, and the rates and the traffic signal systems. And how do we know that model predict correctly? Generally, you look at model calibration, you look at what you forecast for the present year, you look how close to the volume, and you adjust it after, called the pivot point, you adjust the factors afterwards, and you assume, and this is a big assumption, they'll be like in the futures. Again, I can forecast in 5 years and maybe 10 years, but beyond that, it becomes a real guessing game. But what it does is, because roads we saw are $30 million, it does allow you inexpensively to look at alternatives. And that's the big thing. Because you don't want to say, let's build a road and see how it goes. Because you're spending money, the public money too as well. So you can get real obsessed about about model calibration. And the travel to model results in the decision making. It doesn't supplant it. It's not because the model says there's going to be this many traffic in the future, you're going to base your decision. It'll be one decision. And the model may vary on items of information. There's new models coming around. Small models generally provide users with forecasts how we buy them and by functional classification. And they usually don't do a good job at non-motorized prediction, which is a new field. And it's very sketchy, and also as far as public transportation forecasting, which is another type of model, and freight forecasting is another type of model too. So, in conclusion, let me catch my breath. Activity centers are nodes which development forms. Activity centers are evolving, and they may decrease in importance or decline. And transportation planning is focused on the activity center, the future of the network, and travel demand modeling is a method to evaluate the impact of activities. As they grow, we also wonder why is it so congested out in the East Mesa or around Loman. It's because we place activity centers there too. It's a big surprise. And different scenarios can be examined in travel demand modeling. And in coming decades, new aspects of travel. We don't know what the electric car is going to be. We don't know if people are going to, we hope that people are going to take more public transit, but we don't know if they're going to do it or not. That's probably not, well, I can't say. I would hope, yeah. And I stand for any questions or comments.
All right, thank you, Dr. McAdams. Questions? Yes, Counselor Graham.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. Not a question so much as this is so interesting. And it's making me think about my habits, how my habits differ when I'm in my vehicle versus on my bike with the routes that I pick, quickest route versus safest route. The fact that I spend, a lot of my calculations are what's the drive-through line at Dunkin' Donuts going to be like right now in terms of when I'm going to take my trip. But in a more serious note, I was interested in the slide with the daily travel diary and thinking about how what we're trying to accomplish in the city with mixed-use development and zoning, how we are actively trying to eliminate some of those car trips or to make them bikeable, make them walkable. And I'm going to be looking up urban morphology because I love enology, and that was just really fascinating. So thank you. All that to have no question, but thank you so much. This is so thought-provoking.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, Counselor Corn.
Thank you. I also just want to speak to how super informative this presentation was, and I hope to maybe take a class from you someday. I think I do. Is it okay if I talk to the board about your plans? Can we talk about that?
I think that could be announced later, I think.
We can, what?
That will be announced later.
Oh, okay. Okay. Never mind. But look for me in your class. I'm a high B student occasionally.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone? Okay. Commissioner Saljo Hernandez, Murillo?
No, ma'am. I have no questions. Great presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. McAdams.
Thank you, too.
All right. Committee comments. Any members of the board? We still need to change that from committee to board.
There's a Gestalt consciousness out there because anytime one person points out a mistake of ours, everybody in the entire universe points it out at the same time. That was pointed out to us earlier today,
Oh,
so
no.
we will
sorry,
get that fixed for the
Andrew.
next meeting.
I'm sorry. Any board comments? Okay, staff comments.
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have a few that I would like to go over with the board today. This is Andrew Ray for the record. First one is progress on the MOA. We are still, as I stand here right now, waiting for the city to tender their offer on fiscal agent fee. I understand that they are working on it, and we will hopefully have it shortly. I do want to note that time is sort of ticking away, so I do hope that they will move through that in some degree of due diligence, but also with all due haste. I did meet with a realtor yesterday and reviewed a number of potential office locations. I will regrettably say that the pickings are slimmer than they were in August and September of last year, but there are a couple of very promising options that are available for us. But they may not be there for forever. So again, I do hope that the city does move forward because even when we have the offer and everything is agreed upon as far as the draft, it's still going to be a months-long process to secure all of the approvals for all of the necessary documents. So that's where we are with that. I am also in the process of looking at a lawyer for the MPO. and also in securing liability insurance for the MPO, because we have to have that before we can move into the new place. On a paperwork note, I did submit a draft JPA revision to the subcommittee this past week that has all of the changes that I believe are necessary to reflect the changes that are within the MOA. It's not super urgent right now, but it would be nice. I hope to have that ready to go and be able to present to the board at the same time whenever it is that we are able to do so. And then lastly, as was kind of alluded to a little while ago, Councilor Corn, you stole my thunder, but this is a bit of a melancholy note, but this is Dr. McAdams' final meeting with us here today, his presentation. That's why I wanted to make sure he had one today, but this was his swan song. So I trust that the board will join us in wishing him, join us as being staff, wishing him the very best in a prosperous and fulfilling next chapter in his life. And that's all that I have, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Dr. McAdams, for all of your work. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you over these years. So you're greatly appreciated, so, and will be missed. So thank you. All right, I know. Okay. Do we have any public comment? No? Okay. May I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved, Graham.
Second, Sanchez.
All right. We are adjourned at 2:39 p.m. Thank you, everyone.